big breaking news coming in at the top of the hour, and a massive embarrassment for the government. The CEO of an Italian firm accused of paying a 350 crore rupee bribe to the UPA government to swing a deal for 12 VVIP helicopters has been arrested by the Italian police. The arrest comes just under 4 months after a series of reports, particularly here on Headlines Today, about what could be the Congress-led government's next Bofors. Italian media reports that Orsi, the chief executive officer of defense giant Finmeccanica, was arrested on Tuesday as part of corruption investigations into the 2010 sale of a dozen of AW101 helicopters for the Indian Air Force. The first two of these helicopters was delivered to the Palam Air Base in Delhi late last year, with the other 11 to follow in quick intervals. In October last year, Headlines Today accessed Italian investigation papers that detail a mysterious Indian connection to the murky affair. Following Headline Today's reports, the Ministry of Defence had ordered an inquiry and called for information from the Italian government, but with no result. Now, Defence Minister A.K. Antony even told the Parliament last year that the Italian investigations had nothing to do with the Indian deal. The arrest of the Finmeccanica CEO proves that Antony was patently wrong. We have Shiv Arur joining us from the newsroom. Shiv, we've been reporting on this ever since last year. A lot of details really emerging, but this seems to be one of the biggest defense scandals till date.
That is correct, Vedika. It was a series of investigative reports, remember, in October last year, which we'd done here on Headlines Today, detailing the investigations that were being carried out in Italy. These investigations had actually begun being reported in the Italian media sometime in April last year, after which they were picked up. We'd actually gotten access to some of those court documents and the investigative documents, which had, in a matter of great detail, illustrated, the method with which these investigations were going forward. Several names had actually emerged. Remember, in October last year, we'd come out with the Indian connection about where exactly these bribes may have actually come from, if indeed these bribes were actually paid by AgustaWestland. Remember, Vedika, in 2010, in February, the VVIP helicopter deal was signed after several deviations in the evaluation of these helicopters were actually overseen by the Indian cabinet. After which the helicopters were delivered, the first of which were delivered in December last year. In October last year, after we'd gained access to these documents, we had detailed, in very minute detail, we brought out the facts of these allegations that the Italian authorities are actually looking into, and are in fact still looking into. The arrest of Guiseppe Orsi, the CEO of Finmeccanica today, is a huge embarrassment for the government. We're calling it the second Bofors here on Headlines Today, and it might well be. Remember, the Bofors scandal, amounted to just about 64 crore rupees. Here we're talking about a 350 crore rupee scandal as far as bribes are concerned, as part of a $770 million deal for 12 AW101 helicopters. Several questions, Vedika, for the government as of now. Considering that A.K. Antony, the defense minister, last year in Parliament had actually said, he'd actually got up and said that the investigations being carried out in Italy do not pertain to the Indian deal. In October last year, just a few months after he made that statement in Parliament, the investigative reports here on Headlines Today forced him to order a second investigation, unprecedented. There was one investigation which virtually gave...
Right, Shiv Arur, they're telling us about that massive embarrassment really for the government. Shiv, you're still with us. There seems to be a huge red-faced defense ministry looking at these details that are coming in.
Vedika, I'd like to go across and get a word in from Dhananjay Khadilkar, our reporter in Paris, for more on this story. Dhananjay, what are you picking up? These investigations pertain not just to the Indian deal, but several others as well, and they've been carrying on for the most of last year as well. What's the latest that you're picking up on the arrest?
Yeah, first and foremost, it's not only an embarrassment for the Indian government, but a huge embarrassment for the Italian government as well. The company Finmeccanica the CEO of the company Finmeccanica has been under investigation for some time for the embezzlement regarding the 12 AgustaWestland aircraft, the helicopters. Now, we hear today that though he has been put under arrest, he has not been charged yet. And it is an embarrassment for the Italian government because it comes on the heels of an impending election which is due to take place on February 24th and 25th. The Italian government has already been hit by a series of scandals,
yes,
and including other financial issues. Now this comes as the latest, and probably one of the biggest in recent times. So on both sides, both on Indian as well as Italian side, it's proving to be quite an embarrassment for both the government.
Well, it's going to be a huge embarrassment, Dhananjay, simply because Finmeccanica began delivering these helicopters to the Indian Air Force in December last year. I can confirm that 2 of those 12 helicopters have actually already been delivered. They are currently at the Palam Air Force Station, not very far from where we're reporting this story. But we're getting reactions already on this story. Nilokpal Basu of the CPM is on the phone line with us. Mr. Basu, this is a story that has been reported widely over the last 1 year, ever since Headlines Today picked up the story, began bringing out investigative reports about potential malfeasance and corruption in the contracting of 12 VVIP helicopters by the UPA government. And now the boss of that company that supplied these helicopters has been arrested on these specific allegations of paying a bribe to the Indian government. Your reactions, Mr. Basu?
Very, very unfortunately that India is increasingly resembling kleptocracy. We have earlier told that you today have a very, very powerful nexus between bureaucrats and politicians and corporates, which are trying to reauthor policies giving complete go-by to transparency, which affects the ownership of our natural resources, which should ideally be community assets, and also areas like national security. So since the Italians have caught this man, there should be simultaneous investigation in India to find out that who were the recipients of that bribe.
Well, the truth about this entire deal is, and I'd like to bring our viewers up to speed on that. In April last year, when Headlines Today had reported that investigations had actually begun in Italy against specific allegations pertaining to several deals, including the 2010 Indian VVIP helicopter deal. At that time, the Indian MOD had asked the Indian embassy in Rome to actually acquire information about this investigation. Just a few weeks later, Mr. Antony, the Indian Defence Minister, had informed Parliament that the investigations in Italy did not appear to pertain to the Indian deal, which was either he was misinformed or something else may be at play as far as this deal is concerned, because as far as the arrest that's happened today, it is very specifically, according to reports, pertaining to the Indian deal on charges that a 51 million euro bribe or defense kickback was paid via middlemen, via several other countries to India. Now, who those beneficiaries are of these kickbacks? Was it someone in government? Was it a company? Was it other middlemen who are patronized by people in government? These are questions that only an inquiry can actually establish at this stage. But this comes as huge affirmation for the reports that Headlines Today did in October last year, because the information that we had accessed, Vedika, the documents by the Italian courts that we had actually put out in a series of investigative stories, suggests and establishes that the investigation points directly to the sale of those 12 helicopters to India.
Do we know anything about the mysterious Indian link till now, over the last 1 year, as far as this defense scam which is emerging is concerned?
Remember, in October last year, Vedika, we'd accessed information from those court documents which suggested that AgustaWestland, the company, was in touch with an Indian Army brigadier who is still serving, I might add as well. Now, remember, the Army at that time had said that they would investigate, his potential links. They would also investigate the links of other Indians named in this particular case. But the Indian government has been less than transparent as far as where those investigations have actually gone, because they also pertained to a separate helicopter deal which is currently on as well. Disturbing allegations about the presence of certain private individuals in India and a retired Air Force officer, as well as a serving Indian Army brigadier, as far as links with this particular company in Italy were concerned. Remember, it's not just an Italian company, it's an Anglo-Italian company, so there are people in the UK as well who may have had some kind of influence as far as this deal is concerned. But the complete sequence of events, beginning from 2008 when the Indian government actually cleared these helicopters until the time that, the deal was actually signed on the 10th of February 2010, Vedika, there's been a series of very suspicious activities. There were reports in 2008 that the Indian cabinet had provided a great number of waivers, technical waivers to the procurement of these helicopters, as opposed to those who were contending against this helicopter. Those reports didn't have really any impact at that time, and the deal was, signed. Even after that, these investigations show that, AgustaWestland was apparently allegedly in touch with, people who at least sound on the face of it from these documents, like people who were offering to, influence the deal, swing the deal a certain way for a monetary consideration. And as you know, that's completely illegal in India. So if 350 crore rupees was indeed paid, 51 million euros was paid to swing a $770 million deal for 12 VVIP helicopters, the question now that the Indian government must answer is, why have they not ordered a full-fledged investigation into this? Why have they continued to accept these helicopters? Are they planning to penalize either the Italian government, since it owns a part of this company, Finmeccanica? Have they been less than transparent? Is there a massive cover-up at play? 350 crore rupees of money that belongs to India has been paid to influence a deal. This is a massive potential scam. I want to go across to Dhananjay Khadilkar, our reporter in Paris. Dhananjay, what are you hearing about the investigations? We understand that the CEO of Finmeccanica, Guiseppe Orsi, has been arrested, but no formal charges have yet been pressed against him. Tell us a little bit more about his involvement as far as these investigations are concerned.
Yeah, exactly. The irony of this whole story is that the CEO of Finmeccanica, he had been tasked with carrying out a cleanup operation and restructuring of the company following a spate of corruption scandals since 2011.
Yeah.
And now we find that the person himself has been arrested. You're right, he has not been charged yet, and it remains to be seen what kind of charges the Italian government would be pressing, considering that Finmeccanica is an important element of the Italian government, in the sense that it represents it is an important part of the defense establishment in the Italian government. So, and there's another factor of two Swiss businessmen who are reportedly under the suspicion of being involved in this deal. We haven't heard about it as yet, but I'm sure as the story develops, we will get to know more about the other links to this entire murky affair. As of now, there's nothing more to add other than the fact that Mr. Orsi has been arrested but not yet charged.
Well, it's a huge embarrassment to the Indian government as well as to the Italian government, because remember, this is the second time. In October and in April last year, the Indian government on two occasions had actually reached out through the Ministry of External Affairs to the Italian government, asking for details about what was going to happen. Did this pertain to the Indian deal? They'd asked for several bits of information about who the Indian connection, really was all about. Was there information about a serving Indian Army brigadier, a retired Indian Air Force officer, a list of private Indian individuals who worked for a defense firm, one of them a lawyer as well, who could have been part of this entire saga. But either the Italian government hasn't cooperated with the Indian government, or the Indian government is completely, is completely in the middle of a cover-up as far as these allegations are concerned. Consider for a moment, Vedika, the fact that the Indian government in the past has shown a great deal of alacrity to cancel defense deals, keep them hanging indefinitely, or indeed, completely blacklist companies at the smallest whiff of corruption. Here you've got the CEO of a company that supplied those helicopters being arrested specifically for the alleged malfeasance indulged in by the company that he is the parent company CEO of, as far as India was concerned. And you've still got the Indian government, the Indian MOD, headed by a person who is as obsessed with his clean image like A.K. Antony, not doing anything. They've made no move to do anything. Right. Last year in October, after Headlines Today, it took a week-long investigation by Headlines Today to actually force the Indian government to come out and say that We're investigating. We're asking for all the details. Now, if we find that anything wrong has been done, then we will take drastic action, including the possibility of cancelling the order and blacklisting AgustaWestland. This happened in October 2012. In December 2012, 2 months later, nothing had happened. The helicopters that had been ordered began their deliveries. They were delivered to the Indian Air Force in the UK and they were flown down to the Palam Air Force Station. I can confirm to you that 2 of those helicopters are at the Palam Air Force Station in Delhi even as we speak. And after that, a short while after that, nothing has happened. The Indian government has not come out and made any declaration about any action taken or any information that it has found as far as this deal was concerned. And now it has sort of culminated in the arrest of the Finmeccanica CEO. I want to go across to Air Marshal A.K. Singh, a very respected defense analyst, former Air Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Indian Air Force's sword arm, the Western Air Command. Air Marshal Singh, good evening to you. We've spoken about this controversy before as well. What are you making of it now, sir? After everything that has happened over the last 12 months, the Finmeccanica CEO is behind bars now.
I totally agree with you, but if you look at the long-term effects of this would be that Italians will always maintain that it is a matter of internal problems of Italy. Because Finmeccanica is intertwined with large number of companies. It is not just Westland that we are talking of.
Yes.
And when it comes to current situation, until and unless they come out with some names which will throw some light on who the Indians involved are, my submission is that it will be premature to even make any guesses on it. Because Italy has always maintained that it is their internal matter until and unless they can prove, or Indian government goes into an investigative mode and wants to prove, which I don't think it is in interest of India at the moment, because after all, cancelling all deals will also involve a large amount of losses to India.
Air Marshal Singh, you're absolutely right when you say that cancelling a deal is definitely not in India's interest, because cancelling deals has only affected our own defense preparedness. As far as the allegations in this particular deal are concerned, there were 2 occasions last year when the Indian MOD had actually called for information from the Italian government. Are we in a position now, as far as the Indian government is concerned, to penalize Finmeccanica or the Italian government as far as, this deal is concerned? Because it appears that if the CEO has been arrested, then the investigation has been able to establish some level of wrongdoing.
I understand, and as your channel is breaking and saying that it is 350 crores are involved, which is not a very small sum, and as the deal goes, it is neither a very huge sum. But if you look at it, until and unless an Indian name comes up, Government of India would have no locus standi to get into it and continue to. They have already earlier asked the Italian government to let them know who are the Indians involved. And if I recollect correctly, and you may also recollect with me, is that the one brigadier's name got kicked up.
Indeed.
Yeah, but then nothing did happen about it, because if you do the investigations, then you find that the trail gets pulled. So until and unless some concrete names do get picked up, I think it will take a few months. One thing certainly shows that Government of India is very serious about these corruption charges.
Mm-hmm.
And if it does happen that an Indian person is involved, then I'm sure the government will take appropriate actions to ensure that the Indians involved in this are punished.
Air Marshal Singh, what do you think the Indian government should do at this stage? I'm talking about immediately right now, considering that this gentleman's been arrested in Italy by the Italian police. What can the Ministry of Defense or the Ministry of External Affairs do at this stage?
Well, the first thing that the Ministry of Defense would do is ask the Foreign Minister or Foreign Ministry to get in touch with the Italian people and ask them that we would be interested in knowing if any Indian is involved in it or not. After all, if you look at the nitty-gritty of the thing, there is no doubt about the capability of the helicopter. It is a very good helicopter, unlike the dodgy deals which Government of India has done earlier. So
Air Marshal Singh, thanks for speaking to Headlines today. We get your point about how the cancellation of defense deals has always affected defense preparedness. This is one particular deal that was actually pushed through pretty quickly, rare for Indian defense contracting, which is notoriously slow and susceptible to cancellation, especially during the process of evaluation as a result of vested interests and allegations of malfeasance and corruption. But this particular deal has actually stood out with the speed and efficiency with which it was actually pushed through. There is no doubt that the Indian government has needed these helicopters. It is retiring older helicopters of this kind. But the fact is, Vedika, right now the ball is squarely in the Indian government's court. There are several questions that they will need to answer about why they haven't yet ordered a full-fledged investigation. Why have they continued to accept these helicopters even when such serious charges hang over the manner in which this deal was actually swung?
Right, Shiv. More breaking news coming in. Well, that could be the answer to the question you just asked. We've just been told that the Ministry of Defence has now referred the VVIP helicopter case, the defence scam that we're talking about, to the CBI. Coming back to you, Shiv, this is what happened with the Bofors scam also. Until now, it hasn't reached a logical conclusion. The fear now is that perhaps, once again, the probe will be stonewalled by Italy as far as this scam is concerned.
Well, it's going to take a completely different complexion now, Vedika. They've referred it to the CBI. The question is, why has the Ministry of Defence referred it to the CBI now? These investigations have been on for the last 12 months. Now, are we honestly, being told by the government that they've ordered the CBI investigation only now because of the arrest of the Finmeccanica CEO? The arrest of the CEO, let's tell our viewers, has been imminent for at least the last 4 to 5 weeks. There have been warrants for his arrest in the last 4 to 5 weeks. He was going to be arrested. What we're seeing now is the Indian government, as usual, ordering a CBI investigation as a result of the pressure that's, being built up and the spotlight that's been, that's being put on this particular story that's been reported in the Italian and the international press.
Yes.
And we've
Shiv, do stay with us. I also have Jugal Purohit joining us on the phone line. Jugal, coming to you now, CBI probe has been administered. The MOD referring the case to the CBI.
That's right, Vedika. In fact, this development has just taken place. Even as I speak, the details of the CBI case are still coming out from the MOD side. But yes, what we can confirm to you is that the Ministry of Defence has referred the entire deal to the Federal Bureau of Investigation for further inquiry and action. The Ministry of Defence's press note actually goes to say and acknowledge the fact that from time to time there have been reports about this particular case in the Indian as well as Italian and international media. And naming the company that's Finmeccanica from Italy, it has said that while the contract was signed in February 2012 for the purchase of 12, and let me inform you that only 3 have come to India till now. The Ministry of Defence has then further said that through the MEA, using the route of the Ministry of External Affairs, it had sought in the past information from Italy as well as UK. However, there were no inputs received whatsoever. And given that situation, the MOD is perhaps trying to explain the delay and justify why it had not taken action for this long. But then it is now saying, given the fact that the arrest of the chairman of Finmeccanica has taken place and that this entire scam is gathering momentum, it has now decided to bring the CBI into further probe and actually get to the bottom of it.
Right.
The MOD still in the press note, however, maintains that they still do not have any specific input apart from the media reports, and thus they feel that the CBI inquiry would be the best course of action, and that is what has been referred to now.
All right, Jugal Purohit and Shiv Arur, thanks for staying with us.